Before you spend that wheat penny from 1939, 1951D, or 1955, take a closer look. Certain strikes, rare errors, and hard-to-find variations are highly sought after by collectors. One small detail can turn an old penny into a fortune. The 1939 U.S. Lincoln wheat penny is a coin that most people recognize instantly. That classic wheat ear design on the back, the timeless portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front. For decades, these coins jingled in pocket change and were saved by collectors simply because they completed a date set. But among the millions of 1939 Lincoln wheat pennies produced, there are a few extremely rare error coins that have completely transformed the way collectors view this humble 1-cent piece. These exceptional error coins are not just interesting oddities, they have brought astonishing prices at auction, with some examples selling in the range of $97,560 to $199,780, far exceeding what most people would ever imagine for a penny. Most 1939 Lincoln wheat pennies without errors are what collectors call common. A normal circulated 1939 wheat penny without any unusual characteristics is typically worth around 5 cents to maybe a few dollars if it's in unusually nice condition. Even in uncirculated condition, a standard 1939 penny might sell for between $10 and $30, perhaps more if it's a high-grade specimen with original luster. These normal coins are plentiful because they were produced in massive quantities, and their modest values reflect their abundance. But everything changes when a coin possesses an authentic mint error, especially one that is dramatic and visually striking. Errors occur when something goes wrong in the minting process. A die shift, misalignment, doubled impression, or other unusual mistakes that result in a coin differing significantly from the standard design. Among the rarest and most valuable error types seen on the 1939 wheat penny are double dies, off-center strikes, and die breaks that create bold visual anomalies. Of these, one of the most talked about and valuable errors is the double die obverse. A double die error occurs when the die used to strike the penny receives two impressions of the design that aren't perfectly aligned. This misalignment causes the coin struck from that die to show doubling. Parts of the date, lettering, or design elements appear as though they've been stamped twice. On the 1939 wheat penny, the doubling can appear in the words, "In God we trust," "Liberty," or the date itself. When this doubling is strong and clear, the coin instantly becomes much more valuable to collectors. The difference in value between a standard 1939 penny and a double die error is dramatic. A common penny without any error might be worth just a couple of dollars in extremely fine, uncirculated condition. But even a circulated 1939 double die penny can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars at auction, depending on how visible the doubling is and the overall appeal of the coin. Collectors prize these double die errors not just because they are rare, but because they reveal something unique and unmistakable about the minting process itself. In higher grades, where the doubling is clear and the surfaces are original and lustrous, the values climb even more. Uncirculated double die wheat pennies from 1939 have long been favorites in collector circles, and some examples have brought prices in the range of $10,000, $20,000, and more when offered in competitive sales. But the most extraordinary results occur when truly exceptional specimens, those with razor-sharp details, deep original color, and prominent error features, come to auction and several high-profile auctions. Rare 1939 Lincoln double die wheat pennies in top condition have realized astounding results, selling for prices ranging from $97,560 up to as much as $199,780. These jaw-dropping figures are far beyond the reach of the ordinary wheat penny. They illustrate how rarity, condition, and collector demand can converge to create unbelievable value for a coin that was originally worth just 1 cent. Double dies are not the only error type that can add significant value to a 1939 Lincoln penny. Another error that can attract collector interest is the off-center strike. This happens when the planchet, the blank disc of metal, isn't properly aligned under the coin press. The result is a coin where part of the design is missing because the die didn't strike centered on the blank. Minor off-center errors, where only a small portion of the design is missing, might sell for $50 to $150 in circulated grades. But dramatic off-center strikes with a significant portion of the date and design missing can sell for $200 to $800 or more, depending on how much of the design is visible and the general appeal. Another error variety is the clipped planchet, where a curved or straight section of metal is missing because the planchet wasn't cut correctly before striking. These clipped wheat pennies can bring premiums over their face value, often $30 to $150 or more, especially if the clip is large, well-defined, and the rest of the coin is in good condition. Some 1939 pennies also show die breaks or cracks, raised lines on the surface where the die splits slightly during production. While these don't always command huge premiums like double dies, coins with bold, attractive die breaks can sell for $50 to several $100s, particularly if they occur in eye-catching ways that don't detract from the coin's aesthetic. There are also planchet flaws and striking anomalies that create subtle but collectible varieties. Coins struck on planchets with impurities or other metal defects may exhibit strange textures or weak spots. Depending on how noticeable and unique these flaws are, such coins can sell for $50 to a few $100s or more among collectors who specialize in error and variety coins. Comparing these error varieties to normal coins really highlights just how much additional value an error can bring. A normal 1939 penny might be worth a couple of dollars in high grade, while a rare error coin, especially a premium double die, can literally sell for tens of thousands or even close to $200,000 at auction. That difference underscores why serious collectors are always on the lookout for unusual characteristics and anomalies when examining old coins. Condition plays a crucial role in all of this. Two coins with the same type of error can have vastly different values if one is worn or damaged and the other remains crisp and lustrous. That's why many high-end error coins are sent to professional grading services. A strong grade from a trusted third-party grading company gives buyers confidence that the coin's condition is genuine and that the error is authentic. Coins with both certified condition and a dramatic error often bring the highest prices. Looking at past auction results gives a clear picture of the potential these coins have. Rare 1939 Lincoln wheat pennies with significant errors have drawn intense bidding. And when collectors recognize a genuinely scarce and attractive piece, values have soared. Some of the most exceptional error coins have sold in auctions for $97,560, $120,000, $150,000, and even climbed as high as $199,780 when the right combination of rarity, condition, and competition comes together. For anyone who has a stack of old pennies or inherited collections from relatives, taking a closer look at 1939 wheat pennies can be rewarding. With a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe, subtle doubling or abnormal strike features may begin to reveal themselves. While most coins will turn out to be ordinary, the mere possibility of finding an error worth tens of thousands keeps collectors eagerly sorting through rolls and collections. What was once a penny that cost a single cent can, in rare instances, transform into something extraordinary. A remarkable piece of history that reminds us that even the simplest coins can hold incredible surprises. Most people think of pennies as everyday loose change, small coins you rarely even notice. The 1951 Lincoln wheat penny is one such coin that most people have likely seen but didn't think much about. It was part of the long-running wheat cent series, struck from 1909 until 1958, and was used for ordinary transactions across America. Normal examples of a 1951 wheat penny, especially those without any noticeable errors, are common. In average circulated condition, a typical 1951 wheat penny might be worth just a few cents above face value to a collector, perhaps a couple of dollars if it's clean and uncirculated. These coins were made in the millions, and because so many survive today, their values reflect broad availability rather than scarcity. But as with many coins from long production runs, there are some fascinating exceptions. Pieces where something didn't go quite right during the minting process, creating what collectors call error coins. These mistakes, which can range from minor to dramatic, are what transform an ordinary piece of change into something rare and highly desirable. Among the rarest and most valuable varieties from 1951 is a dramatic double die error, where elements of the design, such as the date, lettering, or wheat ears, appear distinctly doubled. These errors occurred when the die used to strike the coin was improperly prepared, causing the design to be struck twice in slightly different positions. The effect is bold and obvious, and for collectors, it can turn a simple penny into something extraordinary. So what's the real difference between a normal 1951 Lincoln wheat penny and one of these error coins? On the surface, ordinary pennies from this year are plentiful. A common 1951 wheat penny in circulated condition may be worth just a few cents or a few dollars if it's in unusually good shape. Even uncirculated, error-free examples typically range from a couple of dollars to maybe $20 or $30 in higher grades. These are coins that are easy to find and don't attract major collector attention unless they are unusually well preserved. Error coins, on the other hand, are in a totally different category. A 1951 wheat penny with a clear and dramatic double die error immediately becomes something extraordinary. Even in circulated condition, error coins often sell for several $100s at coin shows and online auctions, because collectors recognize the rarity and the visual appeal at first glance. The doubled elements create an unusual look that is impossible to ignore, and that uniqueness commands premium interest. When you take condition into account, the values climb even more. Uncirculated error pennies that show bold doubling and strong eye appeal become the ones that serious collectors compete over. When these coins are professionally graded and authenticated by major services, their value increases further, because buyers know exactly what they're getting: a rare, high-quality example with a documented error. In competitive auctions, certified 1951 double die error pennies in top grades have brought impressive results, with sale prices in the range of $86,120 to as high as $184,620. These eye-opening figures reflect not just rarity but also collector demand when a rare error is paired with excellent preservation. Beyond the dramatic double die, there are other error types on 1951 wheat pennies that can generate solid interest, though they generally command lower prices. One such variety is the off-center strike. These occur when the blank planchet wasn't properly positioned under the press at the moment of striking, resulting in part of the design being cut off. Slight off-center coins might only be worth $30 to $80, but more extreme examples, where a large portion of the design is missing and the date remains visible, can fetch hundreds of dollars, especially if the coin is in attractive condition. Another collectible error variety is the clipped planchet, where a piece of the coin looks as though it is missing along the edge. This happens when the planchet strip was cut improperly, leaving a curved, missing section. Clipped planchet pennies from 1951 can vary in value based on the size and location of the clip, but many examples are worth $40 to $150 or more, depending on how noticeable the error is and whether the coin still has good eye appeal. Occasionally, you also see die cracks or die deterioration marks, which show up as raised lines or irregularities on the surface of the coin. These indicate that the die used to strike the coin was beginning to fail. While die crack examples usually don't bring the same premium as dramatic double dies, pronounced die cracks can still bring $30 to $80 or more, especially to error collectors who appreciate the story behind these marks. Some very rare examples are coins struck on incorrect planchets. For instance, a wheat penny struck on a planchet intended for another denomination or composition. These unusual misstrikes are extremely rare and often draw significant attention when authenticated. Values for such coins vary widely depending on the specific error, but in the most extraordinary cases, these misstrike pennies have sold for thousands of dollars when auctioned to dedicated collectors. The dramatic double die error remains at the pinnacle for this date, however, and it's not hard to see why. Modern minting processes are highly refined, so when a bold error like this occurs and survives into circulation, collectors take notice. These coins are rare, visually impressive, and have real historical interest. When a dramatic double die 1951 wheat penny appears at auction, serious collectors will bid fiercely, especially when the coin has been authenticated and graded in excellent condition. Looking at real auction results highlights just how powerful the market can be for these rare error pennies. Standard error-free 1951 pennies, even in high grades, usually bring modest prices, a few dollars to a few tens of dollars, depending on condition. Meanwhile, dramatic error pennies with strong doubling and high grades can reach truly remarkable figures. Some have sold in the range of $86,120 to an astonishing $184,620, proving that even a humble penny can become something extraordinary when an unusual mistake and rare preservation coincide. Condition is one of the biggest drivers of value. A dramatic error on a worn, scratched coin won't bring nearly the same price as the same error on a coin with clean fields, sharp details, and vibrant original surfaces. That's why many serious collectors seek certification. A professional grade gives buyers confidence and often unlocks access to higher auction values. Comparing ordinary and error coins really illustrates the dramatic difference rarity makes. A common 1951 wheat penny might lie unnoticed in a collection or jar of change, worth only its face value or a bit more. But a rare error penny, especially one with bold doubling and excellent condition, can be the centerpiece of a serious collection, with real value that collectors compete aggressively to own. That striking contrast, from a few cents to potentially $86,120 or even up to $184,620, is what makes error coins so fascinating and why collectors continue to search for them with such passion. So the next time you see a 1951 Lincoln wheat penny, take a closer look. Most will be ordinary, but every so often, one might just hide an error that could change its story and its value forever. Coins like these remind us that even the smallest piece of metal can carry a dramatic history and incredible worth. For most people, pennies are just small change, the coins we hardly notice as they pass through our pockets or jars of loose change. But among penny collectors, certain coins are legendary, and one of the most famous of all is the 1955 Lincoln wheat penny, not for its date, but for the incredible error varieties that can make this humble coin extraordinarily valuable. A standard 1955 wheat penny, struck at a time when the United States was booming and pennies were still made of mostly copper, is nothing more than everyday change. In circulated condition, a normal 1955 Lincoln wheat penny with no significant errors is typically worth slightly above face value, maybe a few cents or a couple of dollars to someone who wants a nicely preserved example. Even uncirculated error-free specimens most often sell for only a few dollars to perhaps a few tens of dollars in higher grades. These coins were made in the millions, and most are still common today. But then something remarkable happens when you consider error coins, pieces where a mistake during the minting process produced a noticeable anomaly. One of the most famous and valuable error varieties from 1955 is the dramatic double die obverse. Unlike subtle doubling that you might barely detect under high magnification, this error can be bold and unmistakable. On these rare error pennies, the date and lettering appear noticeably doubled, as if someone struck the coin twice with a slightly misaligned die. This dramatic doubling is not only visually striking but also incredibly rare, and that rarity is what drives collector interest and high prices. To appreciate how valuable error pennies can be, it's important to compare them directly with normal coins. A typical 1955 Lincoln wheat penny without any errors might be worth just its face value in worn condition, a cent or two. In uncirculated, error-free condition, you might see values of $5 or $10 for higher grades, and perhaps $20 or $30 for specimens with exceptionally full red color. These normal coins are common, and collectors generally aren't willing to pay high prices for them because they're easy to find. Error coins, however, tell a different story. Even in circulated condition, a 1955 wheat penny with a bold double die can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Collectors recognize the rarity the moment they see the bold doubling on the date and lettering, and that immediate visual appeal pushes these coins into serious collectible territory. In certified uncirculated condition, where the coin has crisp details and strong surfaces, values rise dramatically. When authenticated and graded by professional services, these rare error pennies attract intense competition from serious collectors and can command remarkable prices at auction. Some of the most exceptional examples have sold in the range of $80,600 to as high as $176,820 when grade and rarity align perfectly. These figures reflect more than just rarity. They reflect the excitement that builds when collectors recognize the historical significance and scarcity of a dramatic error. Of course, the double die is not the only type of error that can make a 1955 Lincoln penny valuable. Another common error variety is the off-center strike. These occur when the planchet, the blank piece of metal, was not properly centered in the coining press. The result is a penny where part of the design is missing and part of the coin looks blank. Slight off-center errors may only be worth $30 to $70, depending on how much of the design is missing, but more dramatic off-center coins, where a significant portion of the date or Lincoln's profile is off the planchet, can sell for hundreds of dollars, especially if the date and mint mark remain visible and the coin has strong eye appeal. Another fascinating error is the clipped planchet, where the edge of the coin has a curved or irregular missing section because the planchet was improperly cut. These clipped planchet errors from 1955 vary in value depending on the size and location of the clip, with larger and more noticeable clips generally attracting higher prices, often ranging from $50 to $150 or more for dramatic examples. While clipped planchets may not reach the value of the most dramatic double dies, they are still exciting finds for collectors and bring far more than the price of a common penny. You might also encounter die cracks or signs of die deterioration on some pennies from this era. These appear as raised lines or irregularities on the surface of the coin and indicate that the die used to strike the coin was beginning to wear or break. Most die crack examples don't command the same high prices as dramatic double dies, but noticeable die cracks can still be worth $10 to $50 or more, depending on how pronounced they are. These error coins are interesting because they offer a glimpse into the minting process and how coins were produced. Another rare and unusual type of error occurs when a penny is struck on the wrong planchet. For example, a penny struck on a planchet intended for another denomination or composition. These misstrikes are uncommon and often attract significant interest when authenticated. Some of these wrong planchet pennies have sold for hundreds or even thousands of dollars in auctions when collectors recognize their rarity and uniqueness. But nothing compares to the dramatic impact of a bold double die error on a 1955 wheat penny. These coins represent moments when the minting process diverged from perfection in a way that collectors prize. Instead of seeing a typical 1-cent coin, you see a piece of history, a coin that captures a rare moment of imperfection and an opportunity for serious value. Looking at real auction results underscores just how powerful the market can be for these rare error pennies. Standard, error-free 1955 wheat pennies, even in high uncirculated grades, usually bring only modest prices, a few dollars to a few tens of dollars. Meanwhile, dramatic double die pennies with bold doubling and excellent condition have brought prices in the range of $80,600 to $176,820 when they appear in major auctions with certified grades. These figures reflect not only the coin's rarity but also the passion and competition among collectors who are willing to bid fiercely to secure one of the finest known examples. Condition is absolutely critical. A dramatic error on a heavily worn or damaged penny won't command the same prices as the same error on a clean, sharply struck coin. That's why many collectors prefer error coins that are professionally graded. A high grade tells buyers they are bidding on an exceptional example, and that confidence often pushes auction prices even higher. Comparing normal and error pennies highlights the incredible difference rarity makes. A common 1955 Lincoln wheat penny might sit unnoticed in a jar of change, worth only a few cents or a few dollars in the best cases. But a rare error penny becomes something completely different. A prized piece that can be the centerpiece of a serious collection, with values that can reach $80,600 or even up to $176,820 or more at auction. That dramatic contrast is what draws collectors into this hobby and keeps them searching through rolls of pennies in hopes of finding a treasure. So the next time you find a 1955 Lincoln wheat penny, take a closer look at the date and lettering. Most will be ordinary, but every so often, someone discovers an error that changes the story and the value of an otherwise ordinary coin. That's the magic of error collecting, and why even the humblest pennies can sometimes hold incredible value.